Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've been away for the past 2 months because I was on a trip to China and Japan, mostly visiting family but also doing some touring around. And for some of you who might know, Google and YouTube are both completely blocked in China, so I apologize to anyone who has been expecting my videos. It was hard for me to go on this site and post. Now, every time I go back to Asia, even though I grew up in China, I'm still surprised at some of the huge cultural and lifestyle differences between life over there and life in North America. This time specifically, something I've noticed and I want to talk about today in this video is just how much walking is a part of everyone's daily lives over there. For anyone who has visited Asia, you probably know that walking culture is huge over there. Everyone walks. Whether you're a child going to school or a person commuting to work, walking 10 to 20,000 steps on a daily basis is very naturally and easily achievable. In general, there is a culture of walking, but also the cities and public transits, as well as the level of safety over there, really allows people to use walking as the best mode of transportation. And overall, I think this really contributed to a more active and healthy and more social population. And it's something that people living in North America, I think, can learn a lot from. Something that really surprised me this time, and I don't know why I forgot this because I obviously grew up with grandparents, was just how much older people, and I'm talking about people in their 80s and 90s, walk in their daily lives. In China, for example, the big majority of older people either don't know how to or prefer not to drive. And so it's very normal to see older people walking long distances or taking public transit, going somewhere very far on a daily basis. Older people are not only very active, but also very social over there. Because of the higher population density over there, people tend to live in very close proximity to their family or close friends, or to the market or their neighborhood stores. And so walking to get grocery, walking to do errands is just a huge part of their everyday life. There's a park next to where I lived in Shanghai, and I have to pass through it in order to get to the nearest metro station. And every time I go through the park, I see that it's filled with older people, either walking and strolling around for exercise, or talking and hanging out with their family and friends, or there are people even playing badminton in there. People are also walking in some very adverse conditions. In Shanghai, for example, when I first arrived, it was still September and there was like this lingering heat wave. So every day was around like 30 to 35 degrees Celsius, but people still walked outside despite the heat. There were also days when it was raining, super windy and cold, or in very crowded areas, in areas with a lot of steps and stairs or roads that are unpaved. But those things didn't stop people from walking. In Japan, for example, there were a lot of metro stations that had multiple exits. Some exits were smaller and didn't have escalators or elevators and only had like 3 flights of stairs. And we saw so many older Japanese people just speeding up and down those stairs like way faster than us. And we realized that everyone is just used to this walking culture. They have been walking all their lives like this, and as a result, most older people just have a higher level of physical activity and agility compared to their counterparts in North America. Before I went on the trip, I was averaging maybe 5,000 to 6,000 steps every day in Canada. And I kid you not, the day I landed in Shanghai, I started walking 16,000 plus steps every single day without even trying. In Japan, it got even worse where I was averaging about 20,000 steps every day because I was doing a lot of touring. And to be honest, this amount of walking was a little bit of a shock on my body. The first 3 days, I was feeling very sore all over and my legs definitely ached after about 15,000 steps. But once I did get used to it, I felt just so much more energetic and lively and just light. Obviously, everyone has heard of the many benefits of walking. It's a gentle form of cardio because it's relatively lower impact on your joints. It increases your heartbeat, but not to the point where it's uncomfortable and hard to breathe. And it's a very accessible and flexible form of exercise because you can always adjust the speed that you're walking. Walking also reduces blood sugar naturally, especially if you walk before or after a meal. It helps to reduce the insulin spike. It also helps with digestion, which is something that I personally felt a difference in. I noticed I can eat much bigger meals without feeling super stuffed and bloated because immediately afterwards I'd be using those energy right up. And on that topic, walking absolutely does help with weight loss and fat burning. I can tell you in Asia, I did not eat very healthy because of all the great food choices and street foods, and I ended up eating a lot more than back in Canada. But coming back, I realized I have not gained a single ounce because of how much exercise and just how many steps I've been getting in. Another benefit of walking is that it helps people to sleep better. Many of you might know that I struggle with insomnia from time to time, but this time on my trip to Asia, I slept very well every single night. And I really do attribute that to the amount of walking and just gentle exercise I've been doing throughout my days. For older people, walking has also been shown to maintain coordination and balance, as well as maintain muscle mass. And there's just a billion other benefits of walking that I probably haven't mentioned, but here are just a few that I've personally seen and experienced. Arriving back in Canada, my daily steps unfortunately dropped to back around 5,000 to 6,000 steps. I have to acknowledge the environment in North America is just not ideal for pedestrians. I look outside and all I see is snow and cold, and many of the pedestrian paths are covered by snow or ice. The cities are less urban compared to Asia, the public transits are less convenient, and there are also some neighborhoods that might be unsafe to walk in. But I think the biggest challenge is just that there's not a culture of walking. Most people tend to live in more suburban areas where the population density and the density of buildings is just not high enough for people to navigate easily around on foot. Plus, people are very much used to the comfort of driving around and they prefer to walk as little as possible. The concept of walking long distance to do things has almost become very foreign to us. People can't imagine walking 1 hour to work or 30 minutes to get to their nearest grocery store, but it shouldn't be this way. I think we should still try to normalize walking as a mode of transportation. Normalize spending time on walking because I think all of our ancestors used to do this as part of their lives. Yes, walking can be much slower and more physically exerting, but I would also argue that we should do things that are slower and more physically exerting. Our bodies and minds are so used to doing things in absolute comfort and ease, and we need to challenge our bodies to do harder things. This is why I encourage all of us to start walking more. Here are some ideas. We can try to walk to work, to get coffee, to get lunch. Try picking up your groceries on foot more often during the week, or walk your dog, stroll with your family after dinner, or even just take a walk by yourself. Do a walking meditation or listen to a podcast when you're walking. Use this time to be with yourself, to think about random thoughts, and just slow down the rhythm of your day. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching today, and as usual, I wish you have a peaceful rest of the day. Bye.